Hello students, welcome to Tobin Sharan team. So today we are going to learn about active and passive voice in English grammar. I know that some among you don't like to learn English grammar, but it's understandable. Nobody like to learn grammar, I know it. But if you learn English grammar with interest, you're definitely going to like it. It is like mathematics. If you understand how things are, then it's very easy for you. So let's start today's class. I think you might have heard about the words active voice and passive voice. But do you know what they mean actually? Let's see. Active voice is when the subject of the sentence performs the action, while passive voice is when the subject receives the action. Before understanding the definition of both active and passive voice, I want you to understand the structure of a sentence in English language. The structure of a sentence in English language goes like this. First of all, the subject, then verb, then object. But there are exceptions to this, I know, but this is the general structure of a sentence in English grammar. It starts with subject, then verb, then object. So, what is subject? The subject is the person, place, thing or idea that performs the action in the sentence or is being described. The subject usually comes at the beginning of a sentence and it answers to the question who or what is doing the action. That is, if you are given a sentence, in order to find the subject of the sentence, we can ask questions like who is doing the action. We will get the answer and that action will be the subject of the sentence. Another question to ask is what is, then we will get an answer. That is, two questions are there in order to get the subject of the sentence, and the two questions are who or what. If we ask both the questions, we will get an answer and that answer will be the subject. This is done to find out the subject of a sentence. Okay. Let's take a sentence. The cat chased the mouse. In that sentence, I want you to find the subject of the sentence. Okay. I know the subject. I know that you do not know the subject of this sentence. That's understandable. So, in order to find the subject, you need to ask the questions like what or who. So, the sentence is the cat chased the mouse. So, the question that I am going to ask is who chased the mouse? And there is an answer, and the answer is the cat. It is the cat that chased the mouse. And another question that we need to ask is with the word what. I think we cannot construct a sentence with what. If you are able to construct a sentence with what with the sentence, to the sentence the cat chased the mouse, I want you to comment it down in the comment section. Okay. So, to the question who chased the mouse, the answer will be the cat. So, the subject is the cat. So, this is how we find out the subject of a sentence. Okay. Now, that is the first thing of the structure of sentence, that is the subject. Second is the verb. What is verb? The verb is the action word in the sentence that shows what the subject is doing or what is happening in the sentence. The verb can also indicate a state of being or a condition. That is, verb means it is an action word. For example, writing, reading, dancing, walking, running, all these are action words, right? So, for all the action words, we'll call a general term, that is verb. For example, let's take the same sentence, the cat chased the mouse. So, I want you to find out the action word in this sentence. The cat is not an action word. The mouse too is not an action word. Chased is an action word and that is the verb in this sentence. So we already try to understand what is subject and what is verb in a sentence. Now let's look at the object in the sentence. What is an object actually? An object is the person, place, thing or idea that receives the action in the sentence. The object usually comes after the verb and answers the questions who or what is receiving the action. That means object, we can find out object from a sentence by asking the questions who is receiving the action or what. To these questions we'll get an answer if we ask to the sentence, and that answer is the object of the sentence. Don't get confused. We'll look into an example and understand it deeply. Okay, so let's take the same sentence. The cat chased the mouse. I want you to find out the object in the sentence. So we have a clue that if we ask who, what, we'll get an answer. That is, do not ask the words who or what. We need to ask who is receiving the action or what is receiving the action. That is the question that you need to ask. Okay, receiving the action is of great importance in finding out the object, because object is a person or place or thing or idea that receives action. Okay, so in the sentence the cat chased the mouse, the questions that we are going to ask is with what and who. I'm going to ask what did the cat chase. The answer would be, what would be the answer? It is the mouse. Who did the cat chase? The answer would be the mouse. What was chased by the cat? The answer would be mouse. Who was chased by the cat? The answer would be the mouse. So that's how we find object in a sentence. Let's understand active voice in detail. Let's start with active voice. Okay. In an active sentence, the subject is doing the action. Okay. In reality, it is the subject that does the action. For deeper understanding, let's take the example of the sentence John ate the pizza. Here, in the sentence, who is the subject? Or what is the subject in the sentence John ate the pizza? We already learned earlier the two keywords to ask to the sentence in order to find the subject of the sentence. So let's ask the question with the keyword who. The sentence is John ate the pizza. Who ate the pizza? The answer would be John. And another way to find the subject of the sentence is who performs the action. Here, look at the sentence John ate the pizza. Here, what is the action that John do? He is eating the pizza. He is eating. The action that he does is eating. And who eats pizza? It is John. Who performs the action? It is John. So John is the subject. I think everything is clear. So in the sentence John ate the pizza, who is the subject? It is John, because John is performing the action of eating the pizza. He is eating pizza. So the subject is John and he is performing the action of eating the pizza. Notice that the subject is always at the beginning of the sentence in active voice. Okay. So we can say that this sentence is in active voice. Why? Because we saw earlier that in an active sentence we can say a sentence is an active voice when the subject is doing the action. So in the sentence John ate the pizza, it is the subject who do the action. The subject is John and he is doing the action of eating pizza. So John is the subject and he is performing the action of eating pizza. And the subject is at the beginning. With all these clues, we can say that this sentence is in active voice. Okay. Now let's understand passive voice. We already saw earlier the definition of passive voice. We can say that a sentence is in passive voice when the subject receives the action, not when subject performs action, but when subject receives action. Okay, let's see. In a passive sentence, the subject is receiving the action. For example, let's take the example of sentence the pizza was eaten by John. Okay. So, is there any difference between the sentences John ate the pizza and the pizza was eaten by John? Is there any difference? There is difference. There is difference. If you read and understand word by word, you can understand that there is difference between both these sentences. Take the sentence the pizza was eaten by John. Who is the subject here? Or what is the subject in the sentence the pizza was eaten by John? So, in order to find the subject of the sentence, we can ask questions like who or what ate the pizza. So, this helps us to find the subject. Okay. And to find the object, the question would be who or what was eaten by John. That is how we shall find the object of the sentence. Okay. I know that this is too difficult to understand, but we don't have any other option. The only keywords that have given to us is the words who or what. We can ask questions with the words who or what to find the subject and the object. I'll give you a clue, but do not take this clue in all the situations. Normally, the first word in every sentence would be the subject. If we take the sentence the pizza was eaten by John, the first word is what? It is the pizza. So that's the subject. That is normally that happens, but there are many exceptions to this. Okay, don't take this clue in all the situations. And in order to find the subject, the questions that we can ask is who ate the pizza? I think we already understood the subject and the object of the sentence the pizza was eaten by John. Pizza is the subject and it is receiving the action of being eaten by John. Now that is in passive voice. Okay. The subject is at the end of the sentence. That is another peculiarity of passive voice. The subject would be at the end part of a sentence, but in active voice the subject would be at the beginning of the sentence. Okay. And in the passive voice the subject is at the end of the sentence and the agent, the doer of the action, is introduced with the preposition by. And another way to find passive voice is there will be a preposition by in the sentence. Okay. So now let's practice. Let's practice by changing sentences from active voice to passive voice and from passive voice to active voice. Okay, let's start with an active sentence. The sentence that I would give you in active voice is the dog chased the cat. The questions that are going to ask to you in the question paper would be to change a sentence from active voice to passive voice and from passive voice to active voice. So the sentence that I give to you is the dog chased the cat. And how can we change this sentence into passive voice? The passive version of this sentence is the cat was chased by the dog. Before that, I have some rules to tell you in order to change from active to passive. First, what you need to do is identify the subject, verb and object in the sentence. Next step that you need to do is move the object to the beginning of the sentence. Then add the auxiliary verb be, that is be, to the sentence in the same tense as the main verb in the active sentence. Then change the main verb in the active sentence to the past participle form. Add the preposition by and the subject of the active sentence after the past participle. So let's apply these rules to the sentence. The active voice sentence, the dog chased the cat. This is the active voice. We need to change this into passive voice. So first rule that we need to follow is identify the subject, verb and object in the sentence. This sentence is in normal form. That is, the sentence is constructed in subject, verb, object form. The subject is dog, verb is chased and object is cat. Second rule is move the object to the beginning of the sentence. What is the object here? The cat is the object. We need to move the cat to the beginning part. Okay, so the sentence is the dog chased the cat. We are taking out the cat from the end part of the sentence and we are placing that to the beginning. So the sentence starts like the cat. Starts with the cat. Okay, then dash. Then third rule is add the appropriate form of be. Okay, here the appropriate form of be is was. So the sentence goes like this: the cat was. Then next rule is change the main verb chased to the past participle form chased. Okay, so the past participle form of the verb chased is same, chased. So the sentence goes like this: the cat was chased. And the last rule that we need to follow is add the preposition by and the subject of the active sentence after the past participle. What is the subject? Dog is the subject. So the sentence of the passive voice goes like this: that is, the cat was chased by the dog. The sentence is in passive voice. Note that the object cat in the active voice sentence becomes the subject of the passive voice sentence, while the subject dog becomes the object with the preposition by. Okay. So I think you understood how to convert a sentence from active voice to passive voice. Let's try the opposite now. That is, we'll be giving you passive voice sentence and you need to convert that into active voice. Okay. When we change a sentence from passive voice to active voice, we shift the focus from the object receiving the action to the subject performing the action. So the steps that we need to follow is, first of all, the same step. That is, first of all, we need to identify the subject, object and verb in the sentence. Then move the subject of the passive sentence to the beginning of the sentence. This becomes the subject of active sentence. That is, we need to move the subject of passive, that is subject of passive, to the beginning of the sentence. So our sentence starts with that word. Move the subject of the passive sentence to the beginning of the sentence. So this becomes the subject of the active sentence. Next step that we need to follow is remove the auxiliary verb be in the passive sentence, that is be, and change the main verb from the past participle to the present tense. I'll read again. First of all, you need to move the subject of the passive sentence to the beginning of the sentence. Then we need to remove the auxiliary verb be in the passive sentence and change the main verb from past participle to the present tense. Then make the former object of the passive sentence the direct object of the active sentence. And if there is any prepositional phrase in the passive sentence that indicates who performed the action, move that phrase to the end of the sentence and use it with the subject of the active sentence. If there is a prepositional phrase in the passive sentence and that indicates who performed the action, move that phrase to the end of the sentence and use it with the subject of the active sentence. These are the rules to convert from passive to active. Okay. So let's use I'll give you an example. The sentence, the cake was baked by Jane. This is a passive sentence. You need to convert the sentence into active. The subject, object, verb are. Cake is the subject, was baked is the verb, and object is Jane here. The rule that we need to follow here is move the subject to the beginning of the sentence. So, what is the subject in the sentence? The cake was baked by Jane. Jane is the subject. We need to move Jane to the beginning. So, the sentence starts with Jane. Jane, then dash. We need to fill that sentence. Next rule is remove the auxiliary verb was and change the main verb baked to the present tense bakes. That is, we are asked what is the auxiliary verb in the sentence? The cake was baked by Jane. The auxiliary verb is was and the main verb is baked. So we need to remove the auxiliary verb was and change the main verb baked to the present tense. The present tense of baked is bakes. Okay, so our active voice sentence start like this: Jane bakes, then dash. Next rule is make the object the direct object of the active sentence. The object of the sentence, the cake was baked by Jane, is, what is the object? It is Jane. So we need to make the object cake the direct object of the active sentence. That is, take that directly as the next word. That is, the sentence goes like this: Jane bakes the cake. Next rule is add the prepositional phrase by to show who performed the action at the end of the sentence. We need to, that is the last rule that we mentioned earlier, was if there is any prepositional phrase in the passive sentence that indicates who performed the action, move that phrase to the end of the sentence and use it with the subject of the active sentence. So the active voice sentence is like this: Jane bakes the cake. Now that's all about active voice and passive voice. I have given you the rules to convert from active to passive and from passive to active. Now I will give you some sentences in active voice. You need to convert that into passive by following the rules. I will give you active voice sentences. Okay. First sentence is she wrote the book. Convert this into passive in the comment section. Next sentence is the teacher graded the test. Convert this sentence into passive voice. Next sentence is the company hired new employees. Convert this sentence into passive. Now I'll give you some passive voice sentences. You need to convert that into active. First is the class was taught by the teacher. Next is the house was built by them last year. Next is a new product was released by the company. Next is the meal was cooked to perfection by the chef. Next is the city was destroyed by the storm. Convert all these to active. So that's all about today's audio class. If you find it useful, please subscribe to Tobin Sharan team. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.